Currently, the final boss in the original scenario, Velbrock, unexpectedly awakened in the middle of Act 3. Ed thought that if they could find the cause of its awakened, they might be able to seal it back. Based on the elimination of possibilities, information could be gathered from the key characters in Act 3. After Ed thought about it for a while, he knew that the culprit was not Lucy and Taylor. Clarice was most likely not either, so, what was left was Adele. Her calm attitude despite knowing the date of her own death was strange to him. Ed thought that he should be able to find out something when he found her, but, when Ed saw the barrier protecting the academy being bombarded by the Saint Dragon, it made him have a feeling of haste. He realized that time was too tight. He then asked Marilda to move again and increase her speed even more. He was racing against time at the moment, after a while of speeding. They then arrived at a place. Ed said to Clarice that they had arrived. The place they were currently at was in front of the Ophilus dormitory building. Ed said that they were lucky because the defensive magic in the Ophilus hall had been activated. For now, he asked Clarice to please wait inside quietly, but, when Clarice saw the condition of the dormitory in front of her, she then hesitantly called Ed. Her call made Ed feel something was wrong, and sure enough, when he took a closer look at the barrier that covered the Ophilus hall, he then saw various dragon scales stuck there. Not only that, in the area around the Ophilus hall, there were various bloodied corpses lying there, even though the defensive magic was active. But, when he saw the tragic condition, it made him wonder, the first Velbrock scales hit, did they fail to withstand it? The shock in Clarice's heart could not be described in words when she saw such a tragic scene in front of her. A bad guess then appeared in her heart. Was everyone in the Ophilus hall, already? Just when Clarice thought about it, Ed then held her hand and calmed her down. He said that the situation might not be there yet. After saying that, Ed then immediately brought Clarice into the Ophilus hall. The scene inside was really tragic with corpses lying there helplessly every inch of the way. Ed realized, the fact that the Ophilus hall's defensive magic was activated, it meant that someone had activated it in the control room upstairs. That meant there was someone who was still alive, so, Ed's current goal was to head there. But, when they finally got there and opened the door of the room, Ed's eyes then widened in shock. The scene he saw at this moment really gave him an indescribable shock. There, on top of the magic circle painted on the floor, was the body of a maid covered in blood with several dragon scales piercing her body. That person was Belle Maya. They immediately worriedly ran over to her when they saw that. Seeing Maya's tragic condition, Clarice then said she would use sacred magic to heal her, but, Ed was just silent hearing that, because he knew that she was beyond help. He roughly knew why Maya's condition could be like this. She was hit by the first dragon scale shot fired by Velbrock, but she still crawled up with her condition, just to increase the possibility of survival of the survivors. With a trembling body and a mouth that spit out a mouthful of blood, Maya then handed something into Ed's hand. Feeling that her mission was over, Maya then breathed her last. Seeing that, Clarice then anxiously called out to her. Ed's face turned grim when he saw Maya who died in front of him. The scene felt like a soldier who died in a war. If Maya was still able to speak, this is probably what she would say. I only did what I could do. Clarice couldn't hold back her tears anymore when she saw that. She really couldn't believe what she was seeing right now. The sadness in Ed's heart was no less than hers when he personally witnessed Maya's death, but Ed was able to deal with it more calmly. He then slowly closed Maya's eyes, and let her rest in peace. But Clarice still couldn't calm down at this time. She cried hysterically when she saw the dead Maya in front of her. She really couldn't believe this. She then repeatedly told her that she would be fine. Ed was feeling very upset at the moment. He was grinding his teeth as a result of the anger in his heart, while Clarice was mourning Maya's death. Ed then immediately dragged her away from there. Ed thought that he should also do what he could do. Ed took Clarice to a room and locked the room with the key that Maya had given him. He explained to her that there was a high level of magic protecting this room, so, as long as it was not exposed to a direct attack, she should be safe here. While looking at the scenery outside the window, Ed then told Clarice, who was crying incessantly, to strengthen her heart. He also said that he would go out to assess the current situation. Clarice was then surprised to hear that. She then immediately tried to stop him, because she knew that it was dangerous outside, but Ed certainly wouldn't stop there. He told her to look outside the window. Just staying still wouldn't change anything. But, when Ed was about to leave there was a sudden change that surprised him. An extremely powerful mana flow suddenly appeared in the center of the academy. Ed was very familiar with that flow of mana. It was the celestial magic circle. Besides, this was not an ordinary one. Judging from its structure, A conjecture then appeared in his mind, realizing that, Ed then immediately rummaged through the bookshelves in the room to find something. Clarice was then confused to see that. She then immediately asked him what he was looking for. After Ed flipped through the books there, he then finally found what he was looking for. He was thankful it was in Clarice's room, the introductory book to sacred magic, the application of sacred magic, and finally, the book The Principle of Celestial Magic, written by Glocked. Ed then thought hard about the unexpected events, the sudden rise of the Saint Dragon, the disappearance of Adele, and Clarice who didn't know anything. Then the celestial magic circle scattered in the sky. He knew that the celestial magic circle was not from Abel or Lucy. The magic circle was applied in an unusual way. While Ed was pondering that, the battle between Principal Abel and Lucy against the Saint Dragon, Volbrecht, was still going on at this time. Volbrecht then once again gathered energy in its mouth, then spouted dragon's breath at the defensive magic cast by Glocked. Glocked looked very overwhelmed in blocking the attack. Even though the defensive magic he cast had reached the supreme grade magic, it was still unable to completely block the dragon's breath that Volbrecht had spouted, and made some of the remaining dragon's breath escape and enter the academy. Principal Abel could only stare with worry when he saw the remaining dragon's breath flying towards a building. Meanwhile inside the Awfulous Hall, after Ed pondered it for a while, he then finally understood. He couldn't stick to the original story, because wasn't the story off from the beginning? Seeing Ed who suddenly froze without moving, Clarice then confusedly asked him if he knew anything, but, before Ed could even answer her question, a dazzling light suddenly appeared illuminating the building they were in. They were then surprised when they saw it, and when they both looked out the window, the barrier that covered the entire Awfulous Hall, suddenly showed signs of breaking. Clarice immediately felt panic when she saw the light that was now speeding towards them. As for Ed, without thinking, he immediately ran over to Clarice and protected her. And as you might have guessed, the light was the dragon's breath that was spat out by Volbrecht. Even though it was only a part of the dragon's breath that Volbrecht released, but the impact it had was still so strong that it destroys anything it touches. After that, all that was seen was the scene of Awfulous Hall, which was flattened to the ground. The magnificent building that was used as a residence for elite students was no longer there at this time. All that was left was a pile of remnants of the building, which made it nothing more than a ruin. Somewhere in the ruins, in Clarice's former room, when Clarice did not feel any pain as she expected, she then timidly slowly opened her eyes, but, what she saw in front of her at this moment then shocked her. Ed, with a body covered in blood, standing in front of her protecting her from Volbrecht's dragon's breath. His condition was very bad at the moment, with a stick stuck through her body. In a weak tone, Ed then said to her, "Anyway, whatever happens, if it feels too difficult, please ask for my help." The sadness in Clarice's heart could not be described in words when she saw that scene. She really could not believe and accept this. She had never witnessed such a tragic thing. The experience brought today would probably continue to haunt Clarice throughout her life. Feeling that his life force was slowly fading away, Ed then muttered, 160, but, he then vomited a mouthful of blood after just saying those few words. Seeing that, Clarice then worriedly begged him not to talk yet. She said she would do something. She would find a way out, but, when Clarice was about to use sacred magic to heal Ed's wounds, unfortunately it was too late. Ed's wounds were too severe by now. He then breathed his last in her arms. Clarice's body froze as she held Ed's lifeless body in her arms. She then disbelievingly tried to call his name. Amidst the strong sadness and grief Clarice was experiencing, a power then rose up that centered from within her. That power seemed to resonate with the celestial magic circle that was now hovering over the academy. The sadness in Clarice's heart peaked at this time, with her face streaked with tears. She then repeatedly asked why. The scenes of the death of the guards then reappeared in her memory. The last guard who led her out of the tricks hall and the coachman who gave her the horse. Even to Ed, Clarice was sad why they sacrificed themselves for her. This was not what she wanted. She could not accept this reality. She then hugged Ed's body and repeatedly begged him. She also apologized to those who had sacrificed their lives for her, but, when Clarice opened her eyes again, she was then stunned. In contrast to the scene of destruction and chaos she had seen earlier, she was surprised when she saw the calm and peaceful atmosphere in front of her. This is the scene when Clarice just met Ed and Janica near the joint combat training list. Seeing Clarice sitting there with Ed and Janica, the students who saw then wondered, what is the need for the Saintess to come here? Don't tell me that she came here to meet that Ed. Do they know each other? As for Ed himself, he is really confused about what is actually happening now. Clarice has told him earlier that she said she wanted to talk to him, so, Ed then respectfully asked her, what is the need for her with him, but, ignoring his question, Clarice, who was surprised to see Ed, who was still intact and healthy in front of her, suddenly crossed the table and approached him. Ed was then surprised by her sudden action, but his shock did not stop there. He was then shocked when he saw Clarice suddenly forcibly undressing him. With a rather blushing face, Ed then confusedly called out to her. Clarice herself did not realize his mood. She was somewhat relieved and confused when she saw that there were no wounds on Ed's chest. As for the students around them, they then screamed in shock when witnessing the indecent scene. They really couldn't believe what they saw. Janica then frantically tried to separate them. With a blushing face, she also said to Clarice, even though she is a saintess, doing things like this in broad daylight, this is too much. Amidst the shock and disbelief of the students around her, Clarice herself didn't really care what they thought. Her mind was too preoccupied with something at the moment, seeing a reality that was completely different from a few moments ago. Clarice wondered whether everything that had happened until now was just a dream, or a vision of the future, or just a hallucination. Clarice really had a hard time distinguishing between illusion and reality at the moment. But, when she looked at her wrist, she was shocked and could hardly believe what she was seeing. She then recalled the scene when Ed's bloody hand pulled her to a place, and everything she had gone through during the disaster. It felt very real. Even the blood that stained Ed's hand was now imprinted on her wrist. With trembling hands, Clarice then thought that she might have gone back in time.